Yes, so I'm Sivan. I'm a project manager for the Paris Center for Peace. And I think that my perspective of this discussion, trade and not aid, is our experience from the Transaction Cost Project, a research and advocacy program that we're just about to finish a 2-year research and advocacy program and going on to a next stage of implementation of another 2 years. Shortly, I think that in terms of our perspective, in terms of this project, this is a partnership this project is built on a partnership between the Paris Center for Peace and Core Associates, a Palestinian private company, and is funded by the Middle East Partnership Initiative, the State Department, American State Department. We started with the research. You have these handouts, and I will go a bit in depth so you can refer to these. We started 2 years ago with the questions: what are the transaction costs bared by Palestinian exporters? When we thought about this project, we thought that we were going to conduct a research where we will be in crossings, watching trucks go back and forth and delaying, and we'll measure these and we'll understand what are the transaction costs or what are the added costs to a Palestinian exporter. So if we're looking, what we aimed is to look at a certain, I'm just saying a certain product in a European market, and saying what is this product added costs to it that makes it not compete or not valuable in terms of this market. And very early on in research, we understood that, as you mentioned, we came to understand that it's a lot, the reasons are rooted. It's not the delays or the goods being not going through. The reasons are much rooted. I want you all to look at this pyramid as an example why these reasons are rooted, and this is one of the milestones and one of the steps in our research. As we understood it, we started to understand that one of the root causes is the regulatory framework of Palestinian trade. Normal regulatory framework of any state would be just the green triangle, so meaning administrative regulation, after that national legislation, and international law. We see to this we add another layer, the red triangle, which have to do with the Paris protocols, the implementation laws, and all the organizations, the COGAT, and other ministries that have to do with the specific implementation of the Paris Protocol. And to that layer, we have the Israeli regulations. So if we look in the perspective of the Palestinian trader, and you can go to this chart, we started to do a process of mapping what it means from the Palestinian private sector, Palestinian trader to export or import through Israel and to Israel. We interviewed 60 Palestinian companies. In our first stage, we understood from their answers, firstly, that the procedures are different. We would expect that there would be one procedure, or we thought there would be one major procedure for importing or specific regulations that mandated these procedures. We saw that there's different procedures for different companies to export and import, and it all depends on that company, and within a certain sector also there's different paths. We started mapping this this map, and I think that this is one of our additions to the research that has been done to understand what it means in terms of regulation to export and import. So if you see here, there's the import part of it, to generate an order. Our perspective was to import raw materials, and you see that there is in each state, so require permits and license, letter of credits, ports, the Israeli ports, Haifa and Ashdod, everything that has to do with logistical agents. You see that there is, for example, import license, standard compliance, there is duplicate procedures in the Israeli level and the Palestinian levels. The Palestinian trader does not know, in terms of compliance, are not aware of what they need to comply in terms of the Israeli requirements, also on the Palestinian side, and also in terms of time. They're not aware of how long it would take to issue a certain license, to comply with a certain standard, and there's a very big gap that has to do with access to information. We mapped this chart, and I'll be happy to go in depth, but we found a lot of focus areas or bottlenecks that in this process that create the additional costs. Some have to do with logistical agents, some have to do with transportation, with the crossings, and at the port. Our researchers created one of the purposes, or the main purpose, was to look at, to create a map of policy recommendations that we can use and look at the long-term, with the long-term view. So if we're talking about our subject, aid and our trade, so Palestinian sovereignty, but short and medium policy recommendations. So not to go on the path, what we found in other researchers, other policy mechanism that is created on taking companies, big companies or Palestinian companies, and having specific solutions for them, having policy recommendations that can really help the SMEs, the small medium businesses, and all businesses in order to create growth. We identified around 8 areas of focus areas where there is bottlenecks. We did a simulation model that really to generate the order and see where exactly those bottlenecks created, and we identified that it happens in the banking section, has to do with commercial crossing and VAT, and logistical agents, and ports and standards and international law, and dual use obviously, and restrictions to imports. And what we found that if we're looking at the short term is that there are few methods to address these root causes or these pains. Some have to do with Palestinian economic sovereignty. Some have to do with Israeli and Palestinians coordination. So if only Palestinians and Israel will reunite the JAC or coordinate in specific areas, then we can solve, or we have some recommendations. Some have to do with Israeli and Palestinian capacity building, and one of the major sections that we identified is access to information. So if only the Palestinian private sector will be will have access to trade information, we can, in a good way or in an accessible way, we can try to solve some of these issues. Our MEPI, Middle East Partnership Initiative, gave us a green light in terms of giving us another 2 years of actually taking this research and implementing it, and now we're looking on the implementation stage, which is creating a website that will be accessible for traders. And I think that in terms of my additions and an interesting perspective to this, in terms of our subject of trade, not aid, is how us as a Israeli NGO and our partner, Core Associates, are designing a website or designing a tool that will be sustainable. And we're, through this research, we already have and made contact, us on the Israeli side and our Palestinian partners, with officials to start communicating, and the recommendations that we formed was part of this process. And now we're really trying to understand how us as an NGO, after 2 years, we're ending this fund. The funds will end at 2017. How we're making this website sustainable in terms of we're able to translate and make accessible certain forms, requirements from the standard institution, Israeli standard institution, from the customs. We have that ability, but how we don't sink to, or we don't end up as a project, as a thick book of policy recommendations with no continuation. We see this around us, and this is one of our main challenges. And this has to do a lot with collaboration with both sides, and it's a challenge for us. So we're building on translation and working with the Israeli stakeholders to create translation or create a certain mechanism that will be updated. And I have to say that we sense that there is also a fatigue, not only on the donor side, but also as the implementing side. There is a fatigue of research, trade research that is recommending certain issues and not really continuing it. Where this is one of our challenges, and it's open. We don't know if we will solve it, but definitely one of the solutions is including the private sector. So creating incentives on the Palestinian and the Israeli side. There should be a shift in terms of perspective. On the Israeli side, when we have meetings with Israeli stakeholders, to have them be aware that there is a Palestinian trader that is going through Ashdod and Haifa and using the infrastructure. For this audience, it's probably very something that you take for granted, but it is not. To talk with Israelis and have them understand that there is another customer, an Arabic-speaking customer, to their services is a shift, and we're watching it slowly evolve. We have partners in the standard institution, in the custom, also officials that are working with us, not only on translating on our part of the project, but also translating forms and procedures to Arabic. But also, I have to say, on the Palestinian side, we're aiming for a change, because as all of you were mentioning it before, we see that there is, on the private sector, the logistical agents and the information that they possess, all Palestinians and Israeli, is vast. And we're offering, or when we upload this website, we will offer information that is available for everyone, and to be able to use this information and go online and understand that you can access this information in terms of fee, in terms of procedures, in terms of forms that you can comply with, is a shift that is one of our challenges. So we're looking at uploading this website. We're looking at partners that can actually take this website and have the chain of the ability to chain this information to Palestinian traders. But we're also working on once we upload this website, is to have workshops introductory to this tool, and hopefully having a shift also on the Palestinian trader side to acquire this information.
Thank you.
Thank you.